Captivity Day 24 Tyrell. A brown-furred Lupian stood by the front door with a long rifle at his side. The glass door to his side didn't have a traditional logo, just a picture of a 9-ball and a cue ball with crosshairs drawn on the side. This place was a bit of a hole in the wall, but that suited him just fine. "I'm supposed to be meeting a friend. Where are the tables?" Tyrell asked. "Welcome to Double Shot," the Lupian said in the familiar tone that seemed to be shared by underappreciated workers in any star system. "Just take the stairs to the right of the bar." "I appreciate it," Tyrell said while patting him on the shoulder on the way inside. He stopped by the bar to grab a beer before heading upstairs. "Hey, Tyrell," Prask called, from a table not far from the top of the stairs. He wasn't playing alone. A woman with deep blue hair was lining up her shot while he sat on a high stool by a small round table a few feet away. "Grab a stool. She's almost done showing me the finer points of geometry." She glanced over toward Tyrell. The pool cue slid across her fingers, striking low on the cue ball, jumping the 3 before rolling to nudge the 10 ball into the side pocket, then rolling down the table to hit the 12 ball, sending it rolling into the corner pocket. "Bitch," Prask laughed as she lined up her next shot. By the numbers, she smiled while pointing out the pockets as they spoke. 14 straight down, 13 across, 13 sinks first. "Thanks for meeting us out here in the Bedlam system," Prask said. "I don't get time off too often." She took the shot. The 13 ball went just where she'd indicated. The 14 teetered at the edge of the pocket, but didn't fall. "Your shot, cocksucker," she chuckled as she headed toward the small table. "You didn't tell me you were bringing a friend," Tyrell remarked. "I didn't. She's a local," Prask grumbled as he grabbed the stick from the woman. "I'm going to sink that damn 3 this time." "I have to sink mine in order." "He doesn't," the woman said as she sat on a stool across from Tyrell. "It's the only chance he has to win. His ball management is unimpressive for a man with his proclivities. Oh, a nice jacket. Care for a wager?" "Careful, she's a shark," Prask chuckled as he lined up his shot on the 3. "Not a chance," Tyrell smirked. "It was provided by my employer." "Don't do it, Prask," she cautioned. "Your angle's no good." "Mind yourself," Prask scoffed as he took his shot. The 3 went down, followed by the cue ball. "Scratch," she laughed heartily. "I warned you." While she was laughing, Tyrell noticed 2 black metallic rings, slightly recessed with her skin, on either side of her spine, just under her hairline. "Nice wetware," Tyrell said quietly. "How far do they go?" "Full set just past my shoulder blades," she said as she relieved Prask of the pool cue. "Provided by my employers." "I was never one for implants," Tyrell said. "No offense meant." "I'm not much good without them," the woman said as she moved the cue ball into position on the table. She would need to make a bank shot due to the positioning of the 14 ball. Some are born with an advantage, others have to earn it with blood, sweat, and a good financier. "That girl you sent me a picture of?" Tyrell asked as Prask sat down at the table. "The cute brunette. Who is she?" "That's your employer's new face." "Well, half of her. She's going by the name Sir Mari now," Prask said. "She's off with Lady Cyanide in fellowship space for some political thing tomorrow." A click and a thump later, the blue-haired woman moved on to prepare her next shot. "She'll be heading your way with a Lamentic guy after they're done with all that." "Which guy?" the woman asked as she drew back to shoot. "Oleander," Prask answered with a shrug. The woman missed the 15 ball entirely. "Really?" the woman scoffed. "So Cyanide is letting her run around with that walking erection? Whatever ship they bring will need to be sterilized." "Calm down, Jean," Prask said as he reached for the pool stick. "He's not a bad guy. He's just a cock walking." "Yeah, never mind." "Oh, Have Tyrell take a look at that footage from Aspis while I take my shot. Jean, was it? Tyrell asked. What's this about Aspis? Jean Lavro, she said with her hand extended. Council data integrity. We had a visitor at one of our facilities a while back. It was a shadow entity connected to Lady Darkseid. I'm going to send you some recent footage from Aspis. Please tell me if you know anything about it. Sure, Tyrell shrugged. It didn't take long to grasp the situation. People were being consumed by shadows, and he'd seen these creatures before. They're part of the Cletherian collective, Tyrell said flatly. Carly had one with her when she left with Syntholo. I'm trying to locate him. I don't suppose your people have anything on him. Carly, she asked. The princess, Prask answered between shots. There's nothing I can share at this time, Jean said. If that changes, I can ask Prask to pass it on, if you'd like. Those things showed up just before Cyberop Gregor's ship vanished from Ryjuk sensors sweeps. I don't suppose you could get me a copy of Gregor's ship profile from the scanner reports. Only if you give me something in return, Jean smiled. You can't have my coat, Tyrell smirked. Nothing that dramatic, Jean said dismissively. I just want the navigation hub address for your base. It will make it easier for Sam Mari to find you in the nebula. No problem, Tyrell chuckled while sending her the information. She sent him back the scanner report. The mysterious ship he'd been calling Gregor's Revenge had been the legendary Cyberpather's flagship, and he had it, even if it was probably full of flesh-eating shadows. Working for the Lamentix, you must have better resources than I do. I've been running dry on an image I was sent yesterday. Would you mind? I scratched on the 8, Prask sighed as he handed her the cue stick. No promises, Jean said. Let me see the image, and tell me what you're looking to find out. It seems Lady Darkseid made a new friend, Tyrell said. I was asked if I need an assistant, and asked to prep a room. I'm not sure how seriously to take it. The girl is topless in the picture, and Carly knows that's not my style. I tried looking into it, just in case. Sorry, but this is all I have. Do you care? No, just send it, Jean rolled her eyes. Tyrell forwarded her a copy of the image. I thought you said she was just topless. Jean asked. What? Tyrell stammered. That image has extra layers, Jean mocked. Never mind, that's not your style. Get your game started while I see what I can find searching for her face. Jean winced as she fastened an interface collar around the back of her neck. Her irises glowed softly as she accessed orbital satellites. Prask racked the balls. Tyrell broke. 10 minutes passed before Jean found anything. I think I know why you were having trouble finding her. I'd threatened to charge you, but I don't need the money. I like a good challenge, but this is a bit much. She's damn near nobody. I found a birth record, a Kulani cruise reservation from. Ooh, poor thing. Tyrell called an impossible shot on the 8-ball, turned, and shot the cue ball directly into a pocket. Good game, I lost. Let's sit down for a bit. I was ahead, Prask grumbled as they all sat at the table. What did you find? Tyrell asked. A round-trip luxury Kulani cruise ticket used to run 20,000 credits. 30 for the couple's package. There was a scam a number of years back. Find some naive young sucker to go in on the package deal. Put in for a refund on the second ticket once you get planet-side. You end up with 20,000 credits in your account, a few days in a hotel on Erosha, and leave your travel partner stranded, unless they have enough cash to buy a ticket home. Poor girl. She's been stuck there a while. She was one of the lucky ones. She found someone willing to sponsor her for a work permit. I guess that's an advantage for being young, pretty, and willing to bend over a bit more than usual. Are you saying she's a prostitute? Tyrell asked. No, a waitress. If you want more repeat customers, you hire the ones that bend over a little further when dropping off the food and drinks. Want me to demonstrate? Prask joked. I'll pay you not to, Tyrell laughed. Shoot me her identifier address. I'm going to see if there's anything else worth finding. If she's close to the princess, it's a safe bet Cyanide will want me to keep tabs on her too. Only if you agree to keep me in the loop, Tyrell said. We'll have to route it through a dead man's chest, she said. I'll have Prask pass you the network location. What? Prask asked. When someone dies and their family doesn't close out their online presence properly, we call it a dead man's chest, Tyrell explained. It's a way to store messages where nobody will bother to look. I haven't used one since I was a kid. They're not easy to find. I have to leave soon, but I have a few more things to discuss with Tyrell, Jean said. I hope you don't mind. I'll go down and get us another round of drinks while pretending I have a choice in the matter, Prask smirked before walking away. Cyberop Gregor participated in the Battle of Titan, Jean said. He withdrew his forces to take his prize before the battle was over, then sent a fleet of automated scrappers to retrieve and salvage his ships. That didn't go over well with anyone, so we got between him and the wreckers. We wanted to see what was so important to him. He rigged the hardware to fry itself if tampered with, but we have a good idea what it was. I'm going to send you a file displaying the portion of the schematics we've been able to reconstruct. Can you see if there's a good copy at your site? I'll explain why after. Oh, I'll want to know when it was last accessed too. I'll have to ask someone on site to run the search. I don't suppose you have a file name. Jean shook her head. I wouldn't share it if I did. 9 days after the princess's expected arrival, I got contacted by someone claiming to have something intended for Cyanide. 3 days later that same person arrived at Erosha with a gift package from me. The space station in that system has been trying to track down and eliminate my software ever since. The code injection is from hardware, not just software. I don't even know where it was connected, but it must be somewhere real hard to find. The delivery girl wasn't good enough to hide it this well. It must be someplace dark to their system. The longer this goes on, the deeper I burrow into their system. What can you tell me about the hardware Syntholo was supposed to bring back with him? What? He didn't leave with any. Tyrell asked. Wait, what was the hardware called? A Rojo module, Jean shrugged. Syntholo gave that module a proper burial. Rojo was a cyberpath girl Gregor hollowed out to use as. Jean rested her hand on his shoulder. Sorry, there was no mention of that in the records I found. I'm done writing up the search subroutine. I'll send it to the Keyrame array now. Mind if I take a quick look at your code? Jean asked. On a first date? Tyrell countered. This is hardly. Jean laughed. Is that your way of asking me out? Not formally, Tyrell shrugged, but dinner and code could be a nice change of pace. I'll think about it. Just add close matches to the subroutine. I already did, Tyrell scoffed. I'm not an amateur. A disposable data drive was logged in with Syntholo's effects when he arrived at the port, Jean said. All I have is a record of the file list and a gut feeling. Are you telling me all this is over a hunch? Tyrell asked. Just trust me, Jean smiled with an icy look in her eyes. There may be a connection to the Kazan. They didn't say much during that call I allowed through, but enough for me to add a few more data points. Gowrie found the files, Tyrell smiled. Were you just looking for file names or drone subsystem remote management devices? What in the powers is this Flanix dung? Is this one of the file names? Jean asked while sending him a capture of a transmission log. I'll have her open it and text me the title of the schematic, Tyrell said. That's what I was worried about, Jean sighed. There was a recent parts assembly request and accompanying parts shipment, sent to both Kazan systems. Once assembled, those devices are to be delivered to Eraman or Darkari. Each Kazan systems are making them for just one of those systems. They're called multi-nodes. From what Gowrie can tell me, which isn't much, they allow for ship systems to be controlled remotely. I'll have to dig around to find how they interface with people. Keep me posted, Jean said. This increases the importance of maintaining control of industrial production in Kazan space. Kulani provided the schematics, courtesy of Syntholo. The majority of the known Cletherian fleet is on its way back from Fellowship space. Even if there was a way to guide them, I'm not sure their intervention would do more than stoke anti-Kazan sentiments. You probably have a better grasp on the big picture than me. We need an active queen, and that's where Sir Mari comes in. Lady Darkseid left something at Alliance Arms. It's up to you to make sure they understand Sir Mari is eligible to retrieve her property, Jean said. What about that hardware? Any idea what they want it for? Tyrell asked. Going to war without risking personnel, using black tech. Jean snickered. Who would want to do that? I'll mention it to my Kazan contacts, and let them take it from there, Tyrell smirked. What the fuck do I know about running a resistance? Is there any way to lock down a link during their main assault? Sure, Jean shrugged. Just stall out a large enough ship halfway through the fold. The Starlink safety protocols won't allow it to deactivate when a ship is in the way. Colony pods work well. Sabotaging Taz Corp megafreighters is better. That was quick, Tyrell chuckled. Don't suppose you know how to protect your own ships while stirring up a Jinnan colony? You're on your own with that one, Jean chuckled. I know how to kill a colony. Just point the princess at them. And don't get shot. Prask walked onto the second-floor landing carrying 3 beers. Tyrell and Jean both nodded at him in acknowledgement. Good talk. Prask asked while handing them their bottles. I think so, Jean said. I was just agreeing to let your friend Tyrell take me to dinner if he wins his first war. Were you? Tyrell laughed. As soon as you tell me the other nation the princess is trying to destabilize, Jean winked. It's a diversion to draw attention away from the primary operation, Tyrell shrugged. That's all I know. So much for dinner, Jean taunted. I was hoping it would be something juicy. Taz Corp was looking like it might become vulnerable for a while there. Their supply lines keep the citizens of dozens of planets fed. Kulani is one of the few nations that could augment that, and we are not happy with them right now. The Fellowship can. Jean began. Never mind. Not without the Acrididae dynasty's agricultural production they can't. Cletheria killed that possibility. I wonder if that's why the Kulani Dominion held back intel that could have stopped the war? It would leave them the heroes of the day, if Taz Corp fell. I'm worried about the power vacuum up there, Prask grumbled. That's the Fellowship's problem, Jean shrugged. Once Cletheria clears out, it's going to get messy. They claimed all those systems after the Colmians vanished. They did it in secret before anyone else knew there were worlds up for grabs. This time, everyone knows. It's going to be a bloodbath, I suspect. The Midnight Fellowship is still recovering from the Battle of Titan, and now this. This could topple them in the long run. Unintended consequences, Tyrell sighed. Lady Darkseid once told me she could map her life to that stupid prophecy. Which verse do you think we're on? If I had to guess, Jean considered. With cities burned and kingdoms smashed, the borders fall as worlds do clash. That sounds grim, Prask snickered, but isn't that just Tuesday? Tia. Tia. The girl that was in charge of the ship's budget and administrative functions, Audie, was a strange-looking Terran girl who had gone through extreme body modification to make her look feline. The hair on her head was white and looked like a regular Terran's hair, though she also had short body hair that resembled fur but didn't quite feel like it. The pointed ears on her head and facial reconstruction reminded Tira more of a Cheshire than Karzan. Despite her unusual appearance, she was really nice. The bounty TRO had been paid wasn't quite enough to pay for faster passage after fuel cost and all the fees, but Audie found a way to make it work with exactly 100 credits to spare. TRO liked her. She didn't want to. If Miyako ever met Audie, it would be a problem. He'd probably see her as the perfect woman, halfway between Terran and feline. Audie and Maury had taken a look through her ship after bringing it on board. Maury enjoyed doing Baron Delaric impersonations. She had been properly educated as an engine design tech and saw the flaw in TRO's ship right away. The crew worked well together and were very knowledgeable, but not much fun. Roan and Wodow were co-captains, who worked alternate shifts. The short black-furred woman, Beta, was their medical officer. She was from a species called Pa-Shai. She ran meditation lessons sometimes, but there hadn't been one during TRO's first day on the Ronin. Bobtail was always checking on TRO, just to make sure she was all right. His duties were in the cargo hold. A feathered reptile called Salju worked with him. Salju was from a species called Silshi. There was only one more male crew member, but TRO had been avoiding him. He was creepy. He had all these tentacles on his face. He was a Daenerok, whatever that was. Nobody could say his name right, so they just called him Ishmael. Desiree hated being called Dizzy, but most of the crew called her that anyway. She took care of the piloting and making navigational adjustments. She really didn't like to be disturbed and even had her own room. TRO really wanted to ask Desiree about what happened to Delaric, but hadn't gotten her chance yet. Other than starting to get to know the crew, her first day traveling on the Ronin was uneventful. She'd be with them for Other than starting to get to know the crew, her first day traveling on the Ronin was uneventful. She'd be with them 4 or 5 more days. Maybe tomorrow would be more interesting. Sato Cho. She hadn't told them her real name. They never asked. They just called her Strawberry. It had been a great night, the best she'd had in years. All the stories they'd told her the night before had seemed so far-fetched. She thought they just had a role-playing kink, but the area they brought her to was insane. Runes, force fields, an inactive hologram projector, a few dozen mics and cameras, armed guards at the doors, and the glint of a satellite overhead. What in the powers had she fucked her way into this time? Of all the days to take off from work, why did it have to be yesterday? Now she would have to quit her job and hope to find someone willing to take over sponsorship of her work permit. She liked being a club kitty. Only security kitties were allowed to participate in events. Club kitties weren't allowed to participate in events. Even on her day off, she felt like she was breaking the rules just being there. Lady Darkseid had no clue when she asked if Cho could be her kitty for the remainder of the round. The Udbar who defended her from that Mongani had recognized her. She was sure of it. The guy with the violet hair was the only other participant who looked familiar. She wasn't sure she would have joined in if she didn't spot him in the lineup. Even then, she was the last woman to get on the elevator. The entire first round, while Cho was screwing the violet-haired guy, Tails kept watching her. It was a real turn-on. It was so hot when Tails threatened to kill anyone that tried to hurt her Strawberry. Everything spun out of control last night and she was swept away by it. Last time that happened she ended up stranded, jump weeks from home. Waking up from her wild ride in the middle of a cozy people pile was a lot nicer than any alternative she could envision, but it was time to face reality. The problem with letting yourself dream is eventually you have to wake up. They said they needed help, but why her? Cho was just a third-rate hacker. What could she really do against some high-paid government cyberpath? She was way out of her league, And she knew it. Lady fucking Darkseid, the Cletherian queen. They needed someone important, like Cyberop Gregor, not her. She wasn't anyone important. She was going to disappoint them. They were still sleeping. If she left now, she could sneak away. They'd find her eventually, but it would give them time to find someone better. Cho reached behind herself and drummed a finger on the back of Ujaran's leg. He huffed and rolled over, pulling Lady Darkseid's tails taut in the process. Cho pushed against the mattress while wiggling her hips, sliding under all three tails on her way to the end of the mattress. After freeing herself from the welcoming warmth of their embrace, she got out of bed, hunted for her cast-off clothing, and got dressed. On the top of a chest of drawers the masks were lined up in a row. Both Shagar masks, her kitty mask, and a black fox mask, which must be Lady Darkseid's. There was a black cloth attached to the back to cover her hair. Cho had never seen a mask quite like it. It had a strap to anchor it to the wearer's head. This wouldn't have been knocked off while giggling, that's for sure. It had to be custom-made. On a whim, Cho decided to see if it fit. It was a little tight around the back of her head, but with a little work she managed to slide it on. The cloth didn't sit right against her long wavy hair, but covered it well enough. She spun around, startled by a rustling noise. Ujaran had either rolled over, or had been pulled over by Kali's tails. Her spot in the bed was gone with only a trace remaining, like a sandcastle toppled by the tides. He made her so angry last night, when he was so sure she was going to run once she knew more. Cho's anger compelled her to prove him wrong. Maybe he expected that. Kali said she had faith that Strawberry wouldn't stay gone long when, not if, she ran. Her first two words, "she won't," were the only ones that stuck with her, at the time. She hated that they were right, but she couldn't stay. She couldn't bear the thought of letting them down, or imagine returning if she did go. If she ran, what would be the chances they'd invite her back for another threesome? Why would they ever trust her again? She regretted climbing out of bed. They looked so warm and cozy lying there together. She longed to be part of that again, just being held. She lived alone. Working as a kitty kept everyone at a safe distance. It wasn't conducive to making friends. It sure made it easy to find guys who wanted her to meet them at their hotel room when she was off work. But she always left once they fell asleep. Is that why she was really leaving? Had that become so ingrained? She had to go before anyone found out who she really was? "I'm tired of feeling alone," she whispered to herself. "I don't want to go." She took off the fox mask and put it back where it belonged. She stood staring at the mask. It was time for her to go back where she belonged. Cho sighed. The field was on. She'd have to turn it off if she was going to slip away. There was an alarm connected to it, but all it did was send a message to a small cluster of network addresses. Shunting the output to her necklace's drive wouldn't take much effort. It was a lot easier than bypassing the governing sensor, and she was too relaxed to put in that kind of effort. It was an oscillating field projector. It might be easier to slow it down for just long enough to step through. That would save her from having to delete those messages later. She stopped as she passed by the bed. They both looked so sweet. Kali had curled up in his arms. Lady Darkseid looked so weak and frail. Cho had seen a glimpse of what the woman was capable of. She knew better. She knelt by the side of the bed, leaned over, and kissed Ujaran's cheek while whispering an apology. He barely stirred. She wanted to give Kali one last kiss on the lips before leaving, but there was no way to get to them, or even her cheek, given her positioning. "I just can't be what you need me to be," Cho whispered, and kissed Kali on the shoulder. She stood as if she was trying to carry the weight of her decision with her. As she slowed the field and stepped through, Cho thought she heard Kali whisper, "I'm willing to wait for more strawberry." Kali had said that during the event yesterday when Cho had run through the curtain to get changed. Had she really heard that, or was her mind playing tricks on her by replaying a memory? She made it halfway to the door before turning around. She forgot her mask. She'd left it on top of the chest of drawers with the other masks. If she went back to get it now, she wouldn't be able to leave. Once had been hard enough. She'd just have to order a replacement. There were 2 guards on the other side of the doors. She could feel the tech they were carrying. She hesitated as she neared the door. Distracting the guards would be easy, but once she stepped through that door, the dream would end. She'd return to her predictable, mundane life, with no turning back. Cho took a deep breath, triggered the alarm sensors on 2 cars parked nearby, and snuck out while the guards were rounding the corner of the building to investigate. 3 blocks from her loft apartment, she bumped into someone wearing a long grey cloak. "Sorry, dear. I didn't expect anyone to be out running at this hour," the woman said. She was a Pharisee, her head almost completely hidden under the hood of her robe. "I wasn't. I didn't mean to," Cho stammered. "Was I really running?" "Yes, sweet girl," the woman laughed. "Fast enough I was wondering what could be chasing you. The zoo is that way, and that's the only place I can think of where dangerous beasts can be found on this world. Well, maybe at some nightclubs, but that's a very different sort of feral beast, I suppose." Cho smiled weakly. "Is something troubling you?" the woman asked while gently running the back of her hand against the side of Cho's face. "Your eyes seem to have sprung a leak. Is there anything I can do to help? There's a medical clinic not far from here." "No, I'm just..." Cho sighed deeply. "Running," the woman laughed quietly. "Stop talking like you're expecting me to read your mind. You don't seem to have one. Funny that. Did you leave it somewhere on the road? I could help you retrace your steps." "That's just me," Cho shrugged. "Broken head, broken heart. I'm not far from here. Would you mind walking me to my new address? I'm having a horrid time finding it." The address was in the low-rent district on the southeast side of town, a half-dozen blocks from the high-end chocolate shops. The address number was on a rectangular plate set into a stone wall next to a stairway leading down to an ornate door. The woman took a slip of paper out of her pocket, peeled off a sticker, and slapped it onto the edge of the plaque. The image was of 3 rays emitted from a half-sun on a dark background. The central ray was bisected. Cho could sense a locator beacon within the sticker. "Isn't that the Midnight Fellowship insignia?" Cho asked. "When a nation is at peace, it's always sunny at midnight," the woman chuckled. "The nights have been quite dark with that Cletherian mess lately, but everything works out when given the chance." "I should go," Cho said. "Are you sure it's time to run off again?" the woman laughed. "I don't see the point in running on a planet. I hear they're round. No matter which way you go, you're bound to cross your own path given enough time. It's easier to see where you are when you stop flitting around. Slow down and take a look." "Okay," Cho said uneasily. "I'll walk. I'll be opening up a new business here soon. Please take my card before you go. I may need a delivery girl. I understand butterflies are good for the flowers, maybe not the strawberries. They're too sugary, I suppose." She snatched the card out of the crazy woman's hand, walked briskly to the corner, then sprinted the rest of the way home. Section break. Cho slammed the door shut behind her, triple-checked the lock and deadbolt, and wished she had a dozen more. "What the fuck was that?" she yelled to no one. Refrigerator, old worn-out sofa, 2-room partitions by her mattress, plush squid, and kitty plushies. Nearly obsolete video console, dead potted plant, a painting some guy who thought he was an artist insisted she take home, her dresser, one but plug cattail, and the accompanying ears for work, a cracked mirror, and a stain on the ceiling from a water leak 2 years prior. Finally, everything was where it belonged. Normalcy achievement unlocked. She walked over, sat on the couch, and leaned back. How in the powers did that woman know her? Her name, Sato Cho, could be translated as sugar butterfly, and she'd been called Strawberry all last night. When people recognized her, they called her Kitty. She was nobody, nearly invisible. Just another Kitty. What had she gotten herself into? She didn't like using terminals or tablets. She didn't need them. She was a damn cyberpath. Why should she? She could see it in her head. Why bother with tech that leaves a data trail? How did they, whoever they is, find out who she is? She was so careful not to leave footprints when she explored the web. There was that image she shared with Ujaran, but neither of them had commented on it, and that wasn't posted where anyone could find it. She spoofed a dead man's chest years ago, created a fake identity when she was a kid, birth records, and everything. It had all been to get around age-restricted sites. She deadmanned the identity once she was old enough that she didn't need it anymore, but that was years before she got stuck here, and linking to it without her necklace and at least one of her earrings wouldn't bypass the encryption key. Cho began hyperventilating. She needed to calm down and think this through. There had to be an explanation. "I'm just a third-rate hacker," Cho reassured herself. "Nobody would go through that much trouble over me." She rested her thumb and forefinger on her necklace and opened her contact list. Her parents disowned her after she borrowed money for her ill-fated trip to Arosha. The guy she came with was still in prison. Her sister hadn't spoken to her in years. There was the guy who tried stalking her last year. She still couldn't believe the fake porno she edited a 3D model of him into got him fired so quickly. Taz Corp didn't fuck around. Well, there was that cyberpath Kali had her ad. That could be it. Her message to him was about becoming his assistant. He was probably just looking into her background. She really didn't have one, so that wouldn't be easy. Kali said he couldn't do much out here. Well, it was a place to start. "I just hope he doesn't expect me to be topless," she grumbled while parking a folding chair in front of the old video console. The call went through, but the screen was still black. "Hi," Cho said nervously. "I'm trying to reach someone." "What generation is your hardware?" a gruff male voice replied. "TCEB 4300. "You better be Kivaz's new pink-haired friend," the voice said irritably. "Transmit your ID chip verification code. If it turns out you're lying, I'll burn your net ID. Got it?" "Why do you want it, sir?" Cho said in a trembling voice. "I'm going to send you some credits so you can buy a replacement unit that isn't older than I am." "I'm sorry, sir," she whimpered. "It was a hand-me-down. Just send me the code," he grumbled. "If I wanted wine, I'd open a bottle." Kali's friend wasn't very nice. She sent the code, half expecting him to empty her account. "Okay, kid," the voice said. "I'm going to disconnect, and you're going to go buy a replacement. None of this Taz Corp flannix dung. Get an Information Society model, with a properly encoded uplink module 4420 series or higher. If you don't call me back within 3 hours, I'll reverse the transaction and burn your account. Do you understand me?" "But the IS models cost," Strawberry began. "Just do what you're told," the man snapped. "I expect you to call me back with your new console within 3 hours. I'll be able to see the specs once you connect, so don't try and screw with me." "Yes, sir," she replied meekly. What was he thinking? She didn't even make 200 credits a week. How could she possibly afford? Cho checked her account balance, then checked it again, and one last time before calling for a ride to the store. There was no way she was ever going to be able to reimburse him. That was a lot of money to throw at someone you didn't know. She understood why he was being so abrasive. Hopefully, he'd be nicer to her once he could see her on video. She could always offer to go topless if that didn't help. It had taken her almost 2 hours to purchase the console, get it home, and unpacked. When she first saw the amount he'd posted to her account, she was looking forward to having loads left over. She thought she'd be able to get new furniture and splurge for once. She knew getting the faster, more reliable information society model was going to cost more. He gave her a full Galcred, 50,000 credits. The only model they had in stock was the 4430, for a daunting 40,000. After the import charge and government taxes, she only had 2,000 left. It would certainly help, but was far from the windfall she had fantasized about. She hadn't been able to afford luxury items. Now she understood why system visitors complained so much. Full citizens weren't burdened by all those taxes. 8,000 credits in fees because she wasn't eligible to become a full citizen. That really hurt. It took another 40 minutes to get the system set up and updated. She took advantage of that time to make herself more presentable. That left her 20 minutes to call him back. She grabbed something to nibble on, a glass and a mostly empty wine bottle, moved an end table next to the console, and got as comfortable as she could in her chair. She initiated the call. As her half of the split-screen view appeared on the screen, she considered cancelling the call and changing the view angle to the corner of the room to hide her furniture from view. The connection was established fast, and there was no lag on the video loading. Much better, the dark-haired, older, Shamfarian said. He looked like he was in his 40s. "Thank you, sir, but this wasn't really," she started with a blush. "Better security, compression, and a modern video encoding protocol," he scoffed. "It was very necessary. One more thing. Call me Tyrell. I'm retired. No more sirs for me. Got a kid?" "Yes." Tyrell, she caught herself just before calling him sir again. "No more sniveling," he smirked. "It was paid for with Lady Darkseid's money, not mine. The Gamaro Inc. units were tax and tariff-free, but I got what you told me to. That's why I told you to get the IS model. Gamaro and Kulani are so firmly in bed with each other, it's hard to tell where one begins and the other ends." Cho looked down, blushing brightly. "What was that look?" Tyrell asked. "I had a great night. I felt like that when I woke up. Not sure where I ended and they began. I'm going to ask you to stop talking right there. I'm sending you a file. Run it." "What is it?" The transfer was done before she was done speaking. "It's a rotation encryption algorithm. It was written by Gregor, with a few personal touches of my own. You added a subroutine that periodically adjusts the lightwave routing. But what are these codes?" "You're close," Tyrell said proudly. "Those are Starlink routing addresses. They reinforce the relay infrastructure. Whenever it detects a link realignment, it checks for a shorter path. It's murder on anyone trying to monitor an entire conversation." "Wow, you're good, even if your code is ugly," Cho admitted. "That's a bit personal, kid. Most of it isn't my code, but still," Tyrell scolded. "Haven't you ever heard sharing code is like sharing a bed? As long as it doesn't break, don't criticize the springs, and don't steal the sheets." Cho giggled. "Run the damn file." "Okay," Cho said. "Running now. What are the sheets in that analogy?" "The authorship sheets," Tyrell said. "Just don't take credit for someone else's work." "That's all." "Oh, it's done," she said. "That didn't take long. There's a dot in the corner of my screen now. If you see it turn red, stop talking until it goes back to green or yellow." "Yes, senpai," Cho blushed. "Almost call me sir," Tyrell teased. She nodded. "If you're going to insist on using an honorific, I think I could get used to that one," Tyrell snickered. "We're in the green now," Tyrell said. "All my conversations with Kivaza have been deliberately cryptic. I have so many questions. How is she? Stuff like that mostly, but before I ask any of that, There are a few things I need to know about you, alright? Yes, Tyrell, senpai. Cho beamed. Fresh strawberries patch. Tyrell snickered. I have to know why you chose that for your new console's network ID. I was in a rush, Cho complained. All the good ones were already taken. How did you get Shadowfac? Sorry, trade secret, Tyrell winked. You bought it off the former owner, didn't you? Cho accused. Not much of a secret, Tyrell laughed. If you end up working with me long enough, I'll help you come up with something better. As long as strawberry is in there, she said with a quirky smile. Why strawberry? It's what Lady Darkseid called me. I kinda like it. I don't get it. Your hair is a lot more pink than red, Tyrell shrugged. She pointed down, turned beet red, and whispered, I'm a strawberry blonde. Oh, Tyrell said, then cleared his throat. Okay then. Who am I to argue with Lady Darkseid? Strawberry it is then. Now that that's out of the way, did you take any other snapshots last night? No. Wait. That didn't sound right. I'm concerned about Kivaza. Asking you how she's looking is pointless. I just want to know if she looks healthy. I do have one, Strawberry said nervously, but I don't think it'll help. She's covered in temporary skin dye. What color? Blue and green. Send it. Cho sent him the image with Kali and Ujaran. Who is that with her? Ujaran. He has 2 penises, Strawberry said bluntly. I'll put that right on top of my list of things I didn't need to know, Tyrell laughed. Sorry, Tyrell senpai, Strawberry said, posing, with a playful smile. She's lost weight. That's not good. I try flirting, Cho complained, and that's the reaction I get. I was too busy looking at Kivaza done up like a universal Terran, Terrell chuckled. Want to do it again? No, Cho pouted. Tyrell laughed. Strawberry stuck out her tongue. We couldn't get much on you, Tyrell admitted. In most situations I'd bluff my way through getting more out of you, but you've been pretty straight so far. I'm not straight, I'm bisexual, she interrupted. That's nice, Tyrell smirked. I didn't pay for that console to ask about your sexual conquests, or hers. Can I ask you something? She didn't really talk about you. You're just an entry she told me to copy to my contact list. Who are you to her? Who's she to you? I'm not sure how to answer that, Tyrell said while scratching his head. I've been there from the day she publicly announced herself to the universe as Lady Darkseid. She went down to the Nadrox system, since some people survived the colony massacre, jumped off a fucking cliff to go rescue them. We recorded up to the point when she got struck by lightning and fell. We were recording with an IS nanite field, which was down by 28% density, after she got zapped. It's trash now. What's left has around 30% left. I reprogrammed it to restart her heart. She was dead, hanging from a building strut. That was the hardest and fastest I've worked in my life. She doesn't even know I did it, and I'm trusting you not to tell her. I don't want her to ever feel obligated to me. In all of Corrales, I'm one of the 3 people she can trust and rely on most. I'm not sure the third counts, that's just trusting herself. As for the other one, I'll send you a picture I took before we all left. She doesn't even know I took it. Sometimes I love being a cyberpath. Ask her about the woman in the red dress if you're ever alone with her. Cho opened the file the moment it popped up. There was a lot going on. Shamfarian was lying flat on his back being pummeled by an Udbar, while a pale, long-haired woman wearing a crimson dress was leading Kali up a flight of stairs to the right of the brawlers. I take it that's Kali's real skin color, Cho said. Wow, she has lost weight. Wait, is that her Tejmare? Sure is, Tyrell said wistfully. I may love Kivaza in my own way. More like a father, honestly. If she cares about you, enjoy it, but never forget that lamentic you see there is the one her heart really belongs to, and will until the stars go cold. I suspect they'll burn any nation that gets in the way of that, before their story's done. You're a romantic, Cho said excitedly. No, he said with a subtle frown, I'm a realist. He must have been speaking figuratively, but the warning to not let her feelings run wild was clear and heartfelt. I can tell you're a cyberpath. Have you ever been registered, rated, or ranked? Tyrell asked. No, Tyrell senpai, Cho said, but if you want me to. Don't, Tyrell said firmly. Not until after we've sorted all this out, but if you're going to be my new assistant, I'll need to know how hard I can push you. Have you had any formal training? No, senpai, Strawberry smiled coyly. You can push me as hard as you want. I like rough. Tyrell smirked. Is that something I'm just going to have to get used to? Answer the question. I'm self-taught, Cho grumbled. Really? Tyrell smiled. And you got a hold on that code that quickly. That's impressive. Strawberry smiled playfully. I see those gears turning, Tyrell scolded. Don't say it. But senpai really did notice me, Strawberry muttered. You can stop that, Tyrell snickered. If she wants me to show you the ropes I will, no flirting required. I like ropes, Strawberry giggled. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Hang on, Tyrell said irritably. Cho got an incoming image file notification. She opened it up. It was an interior camera capture of a massive 4-post bed, with manacles hanging from the top of each. That's Lady Darkseid's bed on her old ship. There, you've been showed the ropes, Tyrell snickered. Strawberry pouted. Judging from your furniture, you don't make much. If anyone notices the change in your buying habits, just tell them Lady Darkseid took pity on you, and gave you the money to buy it. The funds were from what's left of her personal account, so it'll check out. I wouldn't mention being a cyberpath, if I were you. Your old screen didn't work, that should be justification enough. Cho nodded. How often are you able to see her? I don't know, she pouted. I only met her yesterday, and Ujaran talked someone into letting them bring me back with them, but I screwed up. I don't think they'll want me back. What happened? He sighed. I woke up and I was just so overwhelmed. I'm nobody, what can I do? So, I ran away, without even saying goodbye. I didn't even wait for them to wake up. Tyrell laughed. It's not funny, Cho whimpered. How can I face them after that? There was no quarrel or harsh words. They weren't even awake. Let's run through this. They woke up. You weren't there. From their perspective, did you run or just go home? Okay, Cho admitted, maybe a little funny. I just tricked the guards into walking away from the doors and ran until. Until what? He asked. I ran into this weird old woman. I mean, actually ran into her. She just walked right in front of me. She was creepy. After I walked her back to her new store, she... Oh wow. Tyrell waited silently. Okay, I don't think I've been thinking straight since I woke up, Cho grumbled. While we were at the club, Carly asked Ujaran to confirm a rumor about a new fellowship-owned fruit delivery service, and he said he'd find out. That was some kind of code, wasn't it? The woman was Pharisine, like him, and asked me to walk her to her new store, gave me her card, and told me she needed a delivery girl. How did I miss that? She even slapped a fellowship logo by the entrance. I'm wondering how she knew what you looked like and where to intercept you, Tyrell said. Ujaran sent a picture of me and Carly to his wife, who's on the way to some wing ceremony. Really? Tyrell smiled. Go back and tell her you want the job. It sounds to me like the Fellowship has a vested interest in keeping Lady Darkseid happy. It will give you a valid reason to visit wherever they're holding her. It does make me wonder if Fellowship relations with Kulani have become strained. The indicator turned red. Yes, Senpai, I've been very good, Strawberry said lustily as she started raising her shirt. Would you like to see my breasts now? The indicator turned green. That was quick, Strawberry giggled. You're lucky that didn't make them want to keep snooping on the line, Tyrell smirked. You didn't answer, Senpai, Strawberry teased. I've already seen them, Tyrell smiled. Did you forget which picture you sent? All I needed was to match your hair color with the lock she sent me a picture of. Cho blushed redder than a strawberry. Don't get me wrong. I'm not complaining. It was a nice picture. Each layer of that photo includes a single article of clothing. I must have left that layer disabled by mistake. I've never had any complaints before. You're a strange guy. You really aren't interested. Cho grumbled. Ask me again in 35 days, Tyrell chuckled softly. Senpai, she asked, what happens in 35 days? Lady Darkseid expects you to join me here, Tyrell shrugged. Beyond that, fuck if I know. I don't know where you are or what's expected of me. I don't know anything. Tyrell chuckled. That's a way off still. Just keep your plans fluid. The most I'll ask of you is to keep me updated on her physical and mental well-being and maybe pass a message from time to time. No questions asked. The less you know, the safer you'll be. If you ever feel like you've been compromised and you're in credible danger, let me know however you can. I may be limited in what I can do directly, but indirectly is another matter. Once she's looking less colorful, see if you can find a way for her to participate in a call home. Just make sure I have forewarning. Her boys need to see their mother. I caught them planning to steal a ship before I reminded them that neither of them knows how to fly or navigate. It was cute, but disturbing. The indicator turned yellow. I'm going to let you go. Network traffic's picking up. Good luck with that delivery job. I'm sure the extra income will help. Thank you, Senpai, she said as he disconnected the call.